Dear God, we know that you know the desires of our hearts, our thoughts, even before we put them into words. We know that you love us, that you've created us in your image and likeness, and that your intention for us is to have all good, that you withhold nothing from your children, that you are generous and abundant in bestowing your love and blessings upon all of your creation. The only thing that blocks our good is our inability to perceive it and to accept it. This morning, we know that you hear the prayers that we have for our friends and loved ones. We know that you know about the concerns we have in our own life. But we also declare that you are in control, that you are the power and source of all of our good and all of the great and all of the grand that is in our life. We are so fortunate. And we begin this morning with an attitude of gratitude for the life that we have, for the peace that we know, for the health that we experience, for the prosperity that is ours, for family and friends, and so many good things by which we are blessed. Let us not forget the good, nor let us focus but only briefly at that we might consider bad. For we know in the long term that we really don't know whether it's good or bad. That which we have thought in the past was the worst thing that had ever happened to us has turned out to be our highest blessing. So we trust in divine order, and we know that as long as we become aware of you, align ourselves with your love energy, accept your leadership and guidance in our life, seek to know and do your will, that our lives will follow a divine design. And that choice is ours. We make it every day. This morning we make it again. If we have strayed afar from you like the prodigal son, we gladly return home where we are safe, where we're welcomed, where we're loved, and where we are abundantly blessed. We declare a victory in our lives personally, on every level. The old has passed away, and from this day forth, everything becomes brand new. Our life begins anew today, and we celebrate life. We give thanks to be alive in this day and in this place. We celebrate all of those people that we've chosen to make a part of our life, and we choose to love them. We choose to love ourselves, knowing that we're not our bodies, we're not our jobs, we're not what we possess, but we are divine expressions of you. And that spirit that lives in our bodies lives continuously, lives forever, and is constantly growing and changing into the likeness of the Christ. We forgive ourselves and forgive others for the times when we act in less loving ways, when we become selfish and egotistical and rude and disrespectful. We release all of that and gently remind ourselves that we can do better, that we can raise ourselves in consciousness to a new level of looking at ourselves, at others, and our world. And this morning, we've come here to do that. We've come here to learn truths that when we understand them and live them, they will indeed set us free. They'll set our feet upon higher ground. They'll lift us up to the mountaintop, and we truly begin to understand life and how it works, and rejoice in it, and know that it's your intention that all of us enjoy life. The question put to us by our speaker last Sunday was for this week to ask the question, if my life is a representation of God, if God is living its life through me, is God having a good time? We choose to make it good. We choose to make it grand. We choose to make our life glorious by the power of your Holy Spirit working through us. We recreate our lives anew, beginning again this day with thanksgiving. We say, Amen. And so it is. As we sing, Only Believe. Only believe, only believe, all things are possible, only believe, only believe, impossible, only believe. Summer reruns. Summer reruns. Summer reruns. I think I have to hold this like this. That's the secret. I probably have watched more reruns of MASH and Seinfeld than my fair share. And every time I watch them, I see something just a little bit different to enjoy about it. And I hope that that's true for you this morning, as you're going to get a rerun. This is a talk that some of you may have heard before, but it's going to be like love, it's going to be better the second time around, because you're going to hear something different, going to experience something just a little bit that might have missed you the time before. The reason I'm doing this is because I was told to. We have a committee that has decided that they're going to take charge and they're going to move us forward, and that includes telling the preacher every now and then to speak on faith, telling him what to say, and telling us that we're going to talk with enthusiasm about faith and how do we manifest our church going to the next level of growth, and how do we manifest all the good in our life by using faith. And so they said, Ray, would you preach on that? I said, I have. And I will. I'm sort of like the country preacher. This is the true story. I used to be in the Methodist Church in the Tennessee Annual Conference, middle part of Tennessee, and there was a little country preacher that had a thing called the Dicus Circuit, and there's about 6 churches he had that he would preach to. Well, every Sunday for 5 consecutive Sundays, he preached the very same sermon. And they said, is this guy getting old? Is he getting forgetful? Is he running out of ideas? And finally, one of the board members was brave enough to challenge him and says, Pastor, do you realize for the last 5 Sundays you have preached the very same exact sermon? He says, yes, and I'm going to keep preaching it till y'all do it. So I'm going to keep going over this until I get it at least, and if you choose to get it also, then we will have grown. But it is good to hear things again. That's the way children learn, repetition. So if this sounds repetitive, that's okay. It's good for us. First of all, take your hand and take your finger and point at yourself. Just point at yourself right now, quickly. Look at yourself. All right. Turn around and look at everybody else. Where are they pointing? Where's everybody pointing? They're pointing right here. Do you see anybody in this room pointing here? No. Oh, we tend to point here when we think about ourselves, and that's not by accident, you know, because our true life issues out of this part of our body, out of the heart chakra. You see, the heart chakra is that part of our life that gives us passion, that gives us emotion, that gets things done. Now, we teach here in Unity an awful lot about the importance and the power of the mind, don't we? And the power of our thoughts. And that is true. So I'm not telling you that that's not true. But I'm saying what takes that thought and puts it into motion, puts it into action, is desire. Desire is the most important thing in the world, because we are right now experiencing that which we desire. And if we want to experience something different in life, we have to change what our desire is, because it is out of the desire of the heart that life occurs to us. That desire part of us is sort of like an engine. It's sort of like the fuel that gets the engine of the thoughts moving. Otherwise, those thoughts just stay there. You have a whole set of beliefs about something, but you don't do anything about it. So we can have all the book learning and all the knowledge in the world about spirituality and about the Bible and about truth, but somehow or the other, it isn't working for us. And maybe some of you have experienced that. Maybe you've attended here for some time, and you've gone to some classes and you learned some things, but somehow or the other, you're still experiencing the same old, same old. And the reason is that we have to take that thought process and move it down to another part of us, to the part of us that's going to make us act and do something about it. So this desire part, this heart part, is that portion of us that works out of emotion, not wisdom, not the thought, not the knowledge of something, but the emotion, because it's only in the emotion that we're going to actually move. In fact, one definition of emotion is energy in motion, because it's only when we feel something that it begins to move into our cellular structure and come into our body and come into us in such a way that we own it. This is no longer something Ray said that I believe. This is something that I know to be true. This is something I believe with all of my heart. And now I am taking this thought that is now my thought, and I own it and I feel it, and I want to take it somewhere. I want to move with it. The desire ignites us. Like somebody setting a fire under you. Gives you a little psychic kick in the butt, or cosmic kick in the butt, or something like that, so that you get off center and go ahead and do something with all the thoughts and all the ideas that you have. Matthew 6:21 says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So our treasure, what we truly want, resonates with our heart. We love it. You know, we love it. That's what moves it forward. Whatever it is that is going to manifest has to come out of a sense of just feeling it deeply and loving it dearly. Because out of desire comes everything. I'm going to say that again. And we may have to preach this again next Sunday too. Out of desire comes everything. Without desire or without passion, nothing gets done. Now we know what it feels like to live life without desire and without passion. That's that place in life where you're sort of semi-depressed. You're not depressed enough to stay in bed, but you sure wish you could. And you're not motivated to get up and go do something because you quite don't know what to do. You're sort of overwhelmed with it all. It's too much. Where would I begin anyway? If I were to start, I would never be able to accomplish it. I don't have the energy for it. So we just sort of walk through life with blinders on, one step in front of the other, and we fall into the bed at night saying, thank God I made it through this day. Not really living life. And what we do live, not really enjoying it because we're just sort of struggling through it. Just going through the motions of it. But not living it with any sense of passion, with any heart in it. Desires issue out of the feeling, out of the heart. And when we get to that place, nothing can stop us. High jumpers jump. And they jump very high. If you look at this door opening, the height that they're now jumping is to the top of that door. Now that's without a pole to help them. They just run at that thing as hard as they can, and they take their legs and they go over it. Most of them tend to go over it. They all go over it backwards now, don't they? And one of the high jumpers was asked once, how are you able to do that? He says, well, I throw my heart over the bar first, and my body follows. Whatever we do in life requires heart. Because the heart and the desire is the only thing that's really going to make what seems to be impossible possible for us to achieve. Listen to Deuteronomy 4:29. If you seek the Lord your God, you will find him if you search for him with all of your heart and with all of your soul. The first commandment says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength. In other words, it says, don't love God halfway. This is not puppy love. This is just not a one-night stand. This is a love with everything that's in you. And when you love God that way, when you give God your all, then you will be blessed beyond anything that you can imagine. Matthew 21:21 says, this is after Jesus has just cursed the fig tree that didn't bear fruit. And he says, if you have faith and do not doubt, where? In your heart. Hear that again. If you have faith and do not doubt in your heart, you can say to this mountain, go, throw yourself into the sea, and it will be done. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Or John 14 says, you may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it. And that's an amazing scripture. And we tend to believe in unity that name actually means nature. That Jesus wasn't trying to get you to use his name in the prayer. He says, when you pray out of my nature, if you pray out of the same consciousness that I have, then everything that you ask will come to you. Now, the scriptures that I've just read are extremely powerful, and they contain truths that once we understand this truth, we can totally take charge of our lives. We can totally create anything that we really want to create. Once we understand that, then our problem becomes this question. What is it that I want? What is it that I truly desire? Unfortunately, most of us human beings never ask that question. It takes a little time. It takes a little effort. It requires being still. It requires being willing to go inside and search our own soul to find out with some clarity, well, what is it that I really want? If I've got, like, what's the average lifespan? 71, 73 now? If I've got so many years on this earthly plane, what do I want to do with it? What do I want my life to look like? What would I like to accomplish? How would I like to be remembered? What would I like for people to write on my tombstone? What would I like for what kind of legacy would I like to leave my children? When we get to those kind of questions, a lot of us don't really know. So we wind up just following. And it's sort of like, we saw some baby ducks following Mama and Daddy Duck the other day on the lake. And they're just following. It's probably a safe thing to do for the little ducks, but you know, we do that too. And pretty soon, we're living somebody else's version of our life because we've never been challenged or never been willing to challenge what it is that maybe other people are asking of us to do. So we wind up doing mother's career choice for us because she wanted us to be an attorney, or so-and-so's lifestyle because that's what they chose, because we never have been willing to sit down with ourselves long enough to ask, what do I want? Unfortunately, a lot of us are codependent. And codependent people have practiced for a long, long time giving their desires up to somebody else's desire. And when you do that, month after month, year after year, for many years, you literally get to a place that if somebody were to ask you, what do you want? You would say, I don't know. I don't care if it's a movie. Which movie do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go to? Where do you want to eat tonight? I don't care. Where do you want to eat? So your own opinion, because it has been disvalued by another person, therefore disvalued by yourself, gets you to a place where you don't even entertain the possibility that you've got a choice. And therein lies our dilemma. There was a point in my life when I attended Unity in Nashville, Tennessee, that I literally did not know. You know, I was working, I had a job, but it's just a job. Yeah, it wasn't the desire of my heart. It was paying the bills. Partially. And I was just starting to attend this teaching, and I talked to somebody. I said, "No, I can't understand how to get my life to change. How do I do this?" And they said, "Ray, you're sending the universe mixed messages because you're not clear about what you want to do, who you are, what you want your life to look like. And once you get clear on that, the universe has no choice. It will give you the desire of your heart. But if the desire of your heart is to remain confused, remain in poverty, remain broke, remain in a sick relationship, it's going to stay that way until you switch to another desire. What do you want? And so we wind up living somebody else's version of our life. We wind up giving ourselves away. We wind up giving our dreams away so that he can fulfill his, or she fulfill hers, or so-and-so fulfill theirs, whatever it might be. And no wonder we're all miserable. And no wonder we're depressed. And no wonder that Prozac is selling billions and zillions of dollars worth of this stuff, because we all need it in order to stay in some kind of harmony. When all it takes is clarity. Now I say all it takes, but that also means it takes effort. And the biggest effort to find out is to shut up. That's all it takes, is to be still. Make the space in your life so that somebody's voice other than yours and other than his or hers, people trying to influence you, whether it's parents still alive or parents dead, they're still trying to influence you. Whether it's current spouse or former spouse, still trying to influence you. Get all those people out of your mind so that there is a space for the divine voice to speak to you. And then, in quietness and stillness, you'll find your strength and you'll find your clarity. I know this because it took me a long time to do that. And it took me going through some very difficult stuff to get there. I mean, difficult stuff to get there. And get to such a place that the only place I could turn was God. And say, you know, I don't know what to do. Now I have a master's degree in my field. All right? I've studied a lot of stuff. But I had to get to that place, as Carol said last Sunday, where you say, you know, I don't know. And when you get to I don't know, that's the beginning of wisdom. Because then you're beginning to say, well, I don't have all the answers. I need help, and I want to do whatever it takes to get the help. If it requires sitting in front of Ray for 10 years and listening to him, it requires going to a counselor, reading these books, joining a class, but my life is messed up, and I don't want it to stay this way, and I need to find out what's going on. And in the wilderness and in the desert of New Mexico, it became very clear, you're to preach. I called you to preach when you were a young boy. Then you come up, well, I can't do that. I've never been to seminary. I'm not ordained. No one's, And so to shut up, go do it. Just start. Make the phone call. Make the phone call. Get it going. And then everything began to fall into place. And now I can tell you in one sentence what I'm all about. I study, I practice, and I teach universal spiritual laws of life on how to live successfully. And I do this here on Sunday morning. If you come and sit to me privately for consultation, I do the same thing. It's all pointed towards that. The beauty about once you get clear, you also become clear about what you don't want. And then, with discernment and love, you begin to gently remove those people and those circumstances that would take you away from your desire. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make it. I mean, the question with desire is, if you truly desire it, are you willing to do what it takes to get it? There are a lot of examples, I'm sure, in business, but sports works for me. And I see people who swim Olympics, and I know that they have really got to love that sport. Because I know in high school, if you're a swimmer, you're going to have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to the pool and swim X number of laps. Then you got to go to school, and after school you go swim. Then you do your homework, and there may be an evening session. Who knows? This is every single day, and God bless the parents that get up and help the kid do that when they can't drive. But, and you watch the athletes, and no athlete or any businessman actually has ever achieved anything without. But in order to reach the desire, you've got to be willing to make the commitment. Which takes me to my second point. You got to do the deed. Desire is everything, but that's going to be the emotion that moves you to the deed. And the deed says to us that we are going to get so focused on our desire that we're not going to let anybody else distract us. We're not going to get caught up in people saying, well, what you really should do is go over here and sell Amway, or you should get into small-level marketing, or you need to go move to XYZ and do this, that, and the other, and we wind up living somebody else's version of our life, and once again have spent several $1,000s and wasted months down a trail that's going to get us nowhere. Jesus said, blessed are they who not only hear my word, but keep them. See, the fifth teaching of unity, we have 5 teachings basically, but the fifth says it isn't enough to know what we teach here. To know it intellectually is not the challenge. The challenge is to practice it. The challenge is to do it. The challenge is to live it. And 98% of the people that come to me talking about their lives not working, or these principles not working, are people who have not really practiced it. Oh, they might for a while. It's new to unity. They get excited about it. They go study. They do their meditations. They do their treasure mapping. They do their affirmations or denials for 1 month, forgetting that they've had 40 years of doing it the other way. It's going to take a while to change it around. But see, every athlete knows that you've got to train those muscles, and so when Tiger Woods finishes a tournament, win or lose, he probably goes back to the practice area. That's what it takes. That's that level of commitment. That's doing the deed. And doing the deed means that if I've got a desire, I've got to be willing to send the resume out. Not just one. I've got to be willing to make a phone call. I've got to be willing to knock on the door and make that sale, That's the deed. Because just the desire without the deed is just a wish. And a wish is not going to get you anywhere. But a desire with the commitment to see it through will get it done. Emerson said, do the deed and you will have the power. Do the deed and you will have the power. Thoreau says it this way: if one advances confidently in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to live the life that he has imagined, he will meet with a success unsurpassed in common times. Now his statement says to move confidently in the direction of your desire and endeavor to live it every single day in every single way. Why do we set something aside? Why do we not see it through to completion? A lot of us have done that. We've had a business venture, we've had a dream situation, we've had something we wanted to achieve, and we do it for a while, then it's on the back burner and we don't follow through and we easily get burned out. I say, first of all, we've never desired it in the first place. That was somebody else's idea. know a young boy that said he wanted to be a pilot. His dad had been a pilot. So his dad says, I'll pay for your school, son. I'll teach you. You know, they lived in different cities. Child of a divorce, but high school boy. Not make it in high school too well, but very good with his hands. He could fix anything. So the daddy sets him up for these lessons to go learn at an airport not too far away. The young boy makes the first two, but then he sleeps through the third. Sleeps to another one, sleeps to another one. Whose desire was he trying to, you know? I told him, I said, you know, if I loved to fly, if I wanted to fly, you would have to strap me in that bed to keep me from that airport. I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd grab myself a donut and a cup of coffee. I'd be out there before they open the gates waiting for this man to come in and teach me how to fly this thing. I would talk about it every day. I would read every book I could get my hands on. I would love to fly. Flying would be my desire. I made an attempt to play basketball in high school. At my height, that's a challenge, but I made the team. But the coach said to me in junior high school, take this basketball with you everywhere you go. He says, I want you to walk around with it at school. When you're going in a place, you got a chance to dribble it. I want you to dribble it. I want you to spin it. I want you to touch it. I want you to have it with you when you eat. I want you to take it to bed with you at night. What was he trying to get me to do? Live it. Take that desire, take that thing, and incorporate it into my life. So it's not just a little hobby over here on the side, that this became something that I was passionate about. Desire, indeed, is what it takes for our personal lives. Desire, indeed, building committee. Building committee. Desire, indeed, says this is true for our church as well. Until we, as a body of people, have a clear desire to go to the next level, whatever that is, we don't have to know exactly what the next level is, but we do have to agree, I want to go there. I want us to have places to park. I want us to have places to seat. I want a full program for our children. I want a meditation garden. I want a day school. I want a Montessori. You know, whatever it might be, we've got to collectively say that's our desire. And then we have to be willing to do the deed, which means we got to stand up and be counted. Let me tell you a story about this preacher. His church is about the same place ours is right now. And they talked about growth, had committee meetings and search teams and all that kind of stuff, trying to decide where they might move to, how they might build. And he thought he would preach them one great sermon. So he gets up one day talking about church growth. He says, you know, for our church to go to the next level, he says, first of all, we're going to have to crawl. And they said, crawl, brother, crawl. And he says, you know, we not only have to crawl, we're going to have to stand up. They said, stand up, brother, stand up. He says, no, when we get ready to crawl and stand in, we get ready to walk, then we're going to have to get ready and we're going to have to walk. And they said, walk, brother, walk. And he says, and then this church is going to have to run. They said, run, brother, run, brother. And he says, then after that, we're going to all have to give money. They said, crawl, brother, crawl.